All right, we should be live here, getting everything together. See if I can see what's going on in the comment section. Cool. Yep, everybody's here. Chad, good to see you. Dustin, Hack, what's going on? Greg, 619, the whole crew's here. Cool. And we got a full stack at least to start. So Daniel and Joey, I know you guys are both time limited. Neil, I know you're probably time limited as well. So let's get the news that you guys have out of the way. Daniel, you're probably the most pressed, right? Let's talk about Solana transition stuff.
Yeah, that's cool. I think all the guys are part of the Solana migration group, or how do you call it, the Solana readiness group. We've been having like a weekly calls. They've been very interesting. It's been really nice how the foundation has been building this group and trying to make everything very transparent and make sure that everyone is on top of the transition. So that's been really nice. Kudos for the Helium Foundation and Joey. He's a representative here on the channel. Um, yeah, I mean, on Hotspot, we've been like heads down building and getting ready for that. That's something like I've been. I mean, it's been crazy with conferences as well. I don't know if you like who in the ecosystem has been following. Last week there was two conferences that we managed to like go to both. One is the ETH Denver. I know Nanik that you were there.
Yep.
There was this really cool real world conference. I think we can talk about that a little bit as well. And then there was also Mobile World Congress in Barcelona, which is like a massive like telco conference that we were there as well. So it was very interesting, very busy. And then conferences plus everything else, plus getting ready for the Solana migration. We have on Hotspot, we have something called, we have the Hotspot Connect, which is our mobile app that we're actually getting that ready uh, for the Solana move and working with like a bunch of different makers now. So for example, we're working with Panther, Rack, Ionet, and other makers to have them using our app for the onboarding and etc. with the hotspots. Basically, a lot of work.
Yeah.
It never
Jesus.
stops, but it's been cool. Yeah.
Good. Well, it's always good to see people working behind the scenes and crushing. It was good to see Max in Denver. Before we go anywhere else, Neil, apparently this green hair thing of yours is people are psyched on it. Good job.
Yeah, life's too short. Life's too short to be boring, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I've had
Maybe
it
we should
green for
go
so
for a
long now.
mohawk, or we could all do like a green hair Friday.
Check a song called Green Hair from a guy called Supla. He's a Brazilian singer.
Okay.
That's a dope song.
Joey, you're not doing the green hair thing?
I guess I could. My hair's short enough that it would only last like 2 weeks. So
Yeah. Yeah. We could do
yeah,
green
yeah.
beards or something.
You can count me in. Yeah.
Yeah. Dig it. Joey, what's going on with you? What's going on through your world?
I don't know. Daniel set me up. I didn't pay him or anything to say that, by the way. Like,
He's just a generally nice guy.
yeah, he's great. Um, yeah, I mean, the story around the Solana migration is a really big one. This is, uh, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm doing the like 1,000 yard stare right now. It's not even over yet.
Just yeah, take
Um,
take a breath. What's in the can? Come on, we all know it's in the can.
Well, yeah, some parts are in the can, some parts like, we're hustling right now to get documentation together just to make it as transparent as possible to the
Yeah.
community of the things that are sticking around, the things that aren't. One of the big, questions has been like data access. What does it mean to like audit the system and all of that stuff? And some of those stories are going to be, frankly, a little rocky right out of the gate because we, as Foundation, are not going to, build an API for the entire system anymore. And what we're going to do is we're going to take all of that data, like just raw data, and make that freely available to the public. And then you have awesome folks like Daniel that are going to ingest all of that massive amounts of information from all of the different oracles and make sense of it and build really robust APIs and offer those to the public. So this really, in a way, feels like a growing up moment for the Helium network. You go and look at other blockchain projects, and their foundation doesn't run all of the infrastructures. Like Solana Foundation runs a block explorer, but nobody uses it except for like developers.
Hmm.
Everyone goes to SolScan, and that's a third party that
Ah,
operates that.
interesting. Okay.
So Hopefully Daniel and some of the other folks become our soul scans of the community. I am, all of that said, like we never want to rug anybody with expectations of like what we should be doing. So I am working on a really lightweight Explorer, and it's not going to show you hotspot earnings. It's not going to do like all of the stuff that it used to do. There's going to be other sources for that sort of information, but it will sort of stand as like a point of like, here's the coverage of the network, here's the high level stats, here's how many HNT are staked, stuff like that. What are the quick hits? What are the things that people need to know about the network on a broad scale? And then we can start to look to other folks for that really detailed, up to date stuff. So that's like a microcosm of the overall migration, but it gives you a sense of
Good
some of the
question.
like balances that we're trying to keep going here.
Is it gonna be open source?
Oh, the one I'm doing?
Yeah,
Yeah, everything we do is, so yeah, why not?
exactly. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
So yeah, just touching the API stuff. It is gonna be quite a lot of work, I think, for anyone that wants to uh, parse and work with the data coming from the centralized oracles now. What we're trying to do is figure out ways that build an API that people can simply use. Because a lot of people have built infrastructure like management tools, some like something very specific, because they were just using the Helium API that was hosted by StakeJoy, and that's gonna not be working anymore. It's gonna be like frozen in time, right, from when they stopped the API, the ETL basically. So what we're trying to do is like, okay, we're going to start probably very simple to offering this to the community. We don't know yet how it's going to be. Maybe like a very basic one for free. Maybe like if you need more information, it's going to be paid. But also what we want to try to do is merge the Helium data with the Solana data, because right now we're going to have two things, right? You have the private Oracle data that's going to be in a bunch of compressed files that are very optimized but very annoying to work with. And you have the Solana RPC node data that you need to actually get information from the transactions, the hotspot information, etc. So instead, what we're going to do in the backend is try to build our own API infrastructure, also have the Solana one, and then merge into one API that people can easily query that data. I think that's going to be very valuable for those who have built their own systems and don't need to build a massive infrastructure just for that. But it's not done yet. Actually, if anyone would be interested in trying it out, just like message me on Discord, because like this is going to be very valuable as well. Because we want to see people building. Of course, we build Hotspot, we have AGNT Scan and other websites, but we don't want to be the only ones doing everything. So you guys, the community is also
Somebody do
important.
something.
And
Yeah.
I saw a comment about the Blue Wallet app.
Yeah.
That Blue Wallet app started to manage Helium Inc. hotspots, right? Helium systems hotspots.
Yep.
And I think it'll probably sort of be kicking around in some form similar to that for a while. But for all of us that have Helium and Rack and Seed and Bobcat hotspots and all of that other stuff, there are the device specific manufacturer specific apps that manage that. I know this is probably old hat, but I just want to basically give a shout out to Daniel's app, which is Hotspotty Connect. And so again, there's this opportunity in the ecosystem for awesome companies like Hotspotty to like build apps that unify a lot of this stuff. Because you know, it's like asking us to be Microsoft and support every chip and configuration. Like it's a lot of weight to bear.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's a cool opportunity. I'm really excited about. We've talked about this before, like OpenLNS, all of the sort of opportunities that come with that. Running your own systems. We're starting to see a lot of, frankly, really cool shit happen in that regard. Starting to see some more like open source interfacing things that like manage the ChirpStack API for you, all sorts of cool stuff. So yeah, more on that soon.
Cool. So if I'm getting it right, basically like the way that Helium has been doing it was a great way to start, but long term it's too much for one company to bear. So it's just going to be like, hey, we're taking this load and we're going to set it down on the side of the road, and you guys can cut it up and carry it however you want. You can, carry duplicates of that load. You can do whatever you want with it, but we're not carrying it anymore at some point.
Yeah, we don't want to be in anyone's way when it comes to using the network or understanding the network or whatever, right? But we also we want the ecosystem to prosper. Like we don't want to
Yeah.
compete with Daniel. We don't want to compete with uh, I don't know, like if Paul was on, like
Yep.
he's running an LNS, like we don't
Yep.
want to compete with him, stuff like that.
Dig it.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Just one quick thing, like
Yeah.
the Brian was mentioning in the chat, like the transmit scale calculations are broken on Hotspot right now because we had some ETL issues and just a few things that we need to tweak. But during like the conferences, world, everything, we haven't had time to do it because I know it's a very important feature that we have in Hotspot that a lot of people like is the transmit scale, the hexagons, and everything. But it's going to be fixed, I think, hopefully next week. Sorry for that, guys.
Sorry for the free service that I've been providing forever.
Basically,
Is not working for you. Let's see. So here's the nice queue up for you. Neil is 619 asking when can I buy a dog tracker?
Yeah, soon.
Yeah.
Soon. It's just a ton of dev. It just takes a long time. So whilst I'd want it ready now, it's just not going to be for a few months.
Okay.
It's a simple way,
oh,
They can still use a tab though, right?
Yeah. Tabs are just a little big, and obviously after playing with, you just see the future of not using GPS and things like that. It's just crazy how small you can get them. So
Yeah.
it's just exciting times.
yeah. So I just want to plug in that I also received my track pack today from the Founders Project. What is it called again?
The founders. We're
Founders.
fucking founders, Daniel. Shit, yeah.
Thank
The only thing is that it's in Portugal, and I'm in Brussels, but I'm very excited to go back and play with that.
Okay.
I don't have a dog again yet, but maybe soon. Then I can put it on the dog.
Put it on someone else's dog. Yeah, let them.
Other people's dogs are fine too.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, Solana transition. I know Helium Foundation is doing a bunch of AMAs in the coming week, Joey, so we probably don't have to hit it that hard. But the big question is, when is it going to happen? I think I heard yesterday that it's going to get pushed back, which was no surprise to me. It's a big, complex thing, but maybe that's wrong.
Yeah, so it's not wrong, it's not right. So we have a Solana readiness working group that is basically acting as a bit of a community oversight for us on the foundation side, and we are largely going to put the go or no go authority in their hands when it comes to whether we launch on the 27th or on a different day. And so, we're doing as much as we can from the foundation side right now to make sure that working group has every question that they could have answered around the migration, and then we sort of bestow that responsibility on them. So I think I forget how many. I know Daniel's in there. Neil, you're in there too, right? You're in the IoT one. It's hard to keep track. There's so many groups. Okay.
Right. It's great though.
So
I love all these groups.
I frankly was like kind of skeptical. I was like, I don't know how this is going to work, but many props to like Valerie and Scott and Brian on the teams for sort of seeing the opportunity here and driving that forward. So it's been great. But yeah, tentative date is the 27th. If our group sort of feels that we, in the best interest of the overall community, needs to change that date, we will we'll sort of act on that accordingly. But so yeah, don't Sharpie it into the calendar just yet. But
Yeah,
be rallying around.
Yeah, exactly. I think my take, like the comment that I did on the group call, is that it's very close from the end of the month, and end of the month is when people do the payouts, most likely, and it's going to be a chance that I think almost everyone who's not only Hotspotty but other providers as well, they want to do their payouts in the first of the month. That can cause a lot of disruption or just like slow down. So if you move the transition to even a little bit after the first, let's say the 3rd of April, then everyone's going to have basically a month until the end of the next month, the beginning of the next month to have everything ready for that time. So I think just adding a few more days. Also, 27, it's like almost the end of the week, if I'm not mistaken, or it's Monday. Maybe it's a Monday, right?
But yeah, that
We
makes sense to
definitely don't
me.
want to have any. Yeah. So it's just like an idea that I threw out there. I don't think a few more days would, but I think the main concern is like it's not necessarily a few more days, but actually, do we need 1 or 2 more weeks? Uh, we're
Yeah.
working very hard. We don't want to like on hotspot it to slow that down. So we're trying to make, but it's really nice. Like they're really asking everyone how is they feeling, how because there's a lot of things involved, right? It's not there's a lot of makers as well with the firmware updates and so there's it's a lot of it's going to change a lot of things. LNS as well. Yeah,
Right.
it's a lot, but it's progress.
Yep.
Cool.
And just
Chad, say,
a
go ahead.
note on that, like if the date gets changed, like we only get to change that date once, because there needs to be a certain amount of predictability there for exchanges, for makers, for the Daniels. Like everyone needs a date to really focus on. So if something is to like happen, it'll be a line in the sand at that point, as far as when we make it happen.
A line in the concrete. Hell yeah.
Line in the, yeah, it'll be a can in the distance.
Yeah. All right. And Chad's saying the 27th is a Monday. One interesting thing I'm noticing with the four of us who are all in the system is that everybody on the call here, like we're all super fucking busy building in the helium space. And I want to say that there have been times where that has not been as true, where it's just like, there's really not much to do right now. But what I'm seeing as we get closer, actually, maybe that's not true for me. And maybe Neil, I see you laughing at that. But I feel like right now it's like there's an exceptional workload on all of us. And I certainly feel it's like, I got the Medio Scientific thing, I got the Golden Hawks thing, I got the Gristle King thing. Like there's so much going on and helium is in such transition. There's so many questions and the opportunity is really starting to like go super wide. Where before it wasn't. This is I keep feeling like, man, I don't know how to get this message across anymore, but if you're not building something right now, you are fucking missing out. And you don't have to be expert, you just have to do it. Like it doesn't matter if you don't have world-class skills at any of this stuff. If you're building now, like it's such a great entry point for this, whatever, the next bull run, the next macro cycle. Like if you build now, you're setting up really well for 2024, 25, 26.
I'm gonna go grab the
Yeah.
recording and cut that little segment out, and make you into a meme, and we're
Sure.
just gonna put that everywhere.
It's certainly been done before. Let's see.
Yeah, but just saying on that though, Nick, like we went from just having to run around like headless chickens, putting hotspots everywhere, learning
Yeah.
about the tech, learning about antennas, and then we kind of had a little bit of a break, right? Because that slowed down. And now it's like, how do we use this thing? How do we grow services? So yeah, I do think that's happened. It was like there was a quiet period where you could just not do too much. There wasn't too much expectations on you, but now you need to sow those seeds for the next coming years.
It's fucking bananas right now. Yeah.
Well, I think from my point of view, the story here is like we've all sort of been pulling little bits and starting to see like, oh, this works, or like that works, or like, wow, I can solve this problem. And then simultaneously, we're starting to see bigger industry make sort of large bets on the network. You have your senates and activities and all of the, big stuff happening. Like the Nano Things tag is a company that exists because of helium, basically.
Yeah.
And those things give us trust and hope and like faith that this thing, like we're on the right path a little bit.
Yep.
And it's all of this stuff together. And like the more, the more we can keep sharing it, this is why I love that you have these weekly calls and that you're showing your projects and all of that. Like people just need to understand like this thing really does work. And it is the largest, LP WAN globally. Like it's the only option if you want to do this kind of stuff. But I've been working at Foundation for like a year and a half, working on helium since 2019, and I'm like still very, very excited about this. Like it's just such a cool opportunity.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and I think the other piece there is like, hey, the expectation right now is if you're building and offering something in this space, my expectation is that the first things and the things for the next 2 to 8 months are probably going to be broken. They're probably not going to work like super well. They're not going to be like the smooth Apple product experience. And for me, kind of unfortunately looking at other folks, that's going to put people off because it's like we've all gotten so used to, oh, I want something, Amazon, bam, one button, it's at my door tomorrow. And that's not where we are in this system. We're more at, I don't know if you guys ever, I used to order stuff from like mail order catalogs when I was a kid. I'd save up my lawn mowing money. I'd go into this magazine called U.S. Cavalry that was all like military stuff. I was way into that, and I'd order whatever, a ghillie suit, and you'd send a check out, and you'd have to, do this whole thing. It was a pain in the ass, and every so often stuff would get lost, and then you'd get your little whatever it was, 2 weeks later, ton of friction. But the folks who did that ended up going on and have like being ready for the next thing that came down the pipe. And I think that's where we are right now. Like if I look at these nano tags, which I've got this one cut up, Joey, you're probably tired of seeing this thing, the antenna cut off. It's not perfect, right? It's really cool, but it is not something that's like 100% reliable, kind of, ready to crush worldwide right now. I think it will be in the next couple months, and we're going to see that coming from, Neil, from your work, where it's like, oh yeah, well, here's how we use this technology, and here's how we use this global world of hotspots. But it's not there right now, and that I think that is the thing that is really confusing a lot of people, where they're like, oh, I expect it to be like Apple. Like, it's not. It won't be there until 2024, 25. But goddamn, if you're on the ride now, like, it's going to get really good.
Yeah. Asset tracking needs a ton of work, and that's what we've been building for quite a while now. And regarding the nanotags, there's companies that exist that use LoRaWAN tech like this, but they don't run on helium right now because we don't have things like time of flight. We can't predict accuracy. There's no location service for them. So they're like stuck in their municipalities where there's this private LoRaWAN network, and helium means that they can take their business model global. So if we can solve some of these problems that they're having, and there's quite a few teams having the same thing, they need a location engine, then we can bring a lot of business to helium and worldwide, not just stuck in these small places. So it's really coming together, and nanotags is really, starting to open people's eyes, I think. But there's other teams that are doing similar things as well, that are just begging to use helium, but just couldn't at the moment. So we're trying to enable them to use helium, basically.
Yeah. And I'm seeing this across the board. I see Ed's question about the water quality company thing, where he's like, oh, I'm chatting up this water quality company. Like, I was delivering something for Paleo Treats yesterday, and I was like, I'll just stop by the little nursery that's on the way there, and I'll hand them an oyster tracker. And like, my intent with this guy has just been to help out and kind of see what they want for sensors. And we're sitting there in the parking lot after I handed it to him, and he's like, hey, what's the cost on these? And to my kind of discredit, I didn't have a number ready. I was like, I don't know, like, I got 40 or 50 of them in a box somewhere from some cattle tracking project. Like, you just tell me what you want and I'll support it. And if it gets out of hand, we'll figure out a cost. And he's like, no. Like, what's the price? And so I had to kind of like, oh, well, I think they're $40 if you buy them in bulk. They're $60 or $70 if you buy one of them. And he's like, no, what's the monthly price? Like, he wanted to buy them right there in the fucking parking lot on the spot. And that's where we are is certainly I've got to get my shit together on pricing for that. But we're in that spot where the customers are starting to see like, oh, well, I was using GPS, and it's costing me X amount, and the units cost Y amount, and both of those are higher than this helium thing. And so part of the education piece is like, Neil, you're seeing, and we've all seen, is like, all right, hey, this isn't perfect GPS, but it's probably going to be in the next, 6 months to a year, especially if we start bringing in other projects like GeoNet, where it's like, oh, well, that's centimeter accurate GPS. So yeah, shit's about to get real.
Yeah, it takes development. Like I say, like our location engine is built by 2 people right now. If we get the funding to go further, then we'll develop it out and have a team developing it and get it more accurate. And that's what comes over the next few years. It's like pushing a proof of concept out there, showing people what they can use it for, and then taking it further. And that's what everyone could do right now. Like, it doesn't have to be all bells, singing, dancing, working program, just enough to get them interested to be able to develop that time to develop that thing out. Like, that's exactly what you're finding out by just going and visiting people, right?
Yeah,
that's what people need to do. They want to get in now, find a problem and fix it.
Yep. And I think, looking at Grey Hat, like, oh, this is why you need a demo unit in the trunk. I think, as silly as it sounds, like, there's probably an opportunity for a company to be like, hey, let me build you a demo unit in a Pelican case that they sell for $500. It just shows up on your door, and then you can walk around and talk to people and say like, oh, well, this is a tracker, this is a door open close sensor, this is an air quality sensor, and this is whatever the fuck it is, and you've got all 5 things kind of built for you. Like if we start to look a couple steps ahead, that's, you know, and then this is like whatever the cesspool tracker that Chad Dawson is talking about, Bobby, is like all of these things are there. The there's a porta potty on the site at this nursery, and it's like, well, pretty clearly you guys need to be measuring the level of that porta potty so you know when to empty the shitter. And there's like super funny campaigns you can do around this stuff. I think we're going to see this like explosion of campaigns come out the next year.
Yeah, it's awesome. What did you think about, like, one thing that I was a bit surprised, but I think just because there's a lot going on that I could ask Joey, or maybe pull Helium's ear a little bit, that there was no helium at the real world or MWC. Those are pretty big in space, and
Well, you're just setting me up for them today. Yeah, so we weren't out there. We have been establishing a bit of an events calendar, so we're going to have some stuff that we can probably. I would like to find a way to announce it. There's kind of some like OPSEC stuff. It's like Helium is going to be here in like 4 months. That's a little sketch. That I don't know. Abhi will probably shoot me down on trying to publish our events calendar, but I can say that we are at LoRaWAN Live next week, which is one of 2 big LoRaWAN events. There's going to be one in Florida next week, and then there's going to be one in Tokyo towards the end of the year. And so, yeah, hopefully we'll be at both of those. We have a pretty good turnout for the one next week. Abhi will be giving a panel. There's talks from Paul, Disc 91 is going to be there. And then there's also just like some people giving talks that we didn't even go out and engage them for. They're just giving talks about how they're using Helium, which is rad.
Yep.
In fact, that's how Paul did it. We know Paul, but like there's other people that I didn't know that are doing stuff like that, which is cool. So this actually sort of ties into the grants program too. Like if somebody is going to be out there doing an event, doing a talk, doing like whatever, hit up Clarissa. I think that sort of falls into that like $500 stipend thing that we've been kind of, bouncing around. Yep. But I think to Daniel's core point, like, yeah, we have to have a presence, and I want to be at the TTN conference. Like that is the one big IoT party of the year, like even more so than some of these others that you mentioned. And last year we got hit with some FUD, like frankly, people included us in their decks and in kind of funny ways. And it would have been great. Like I love those conversations, because if you sit down and reason with somebody, like these are all smart people, right? They're just they don't know what's going on. Just have a chat with them. Like I've chatted with some TTN folks, I've chatted with telcos at these events. And once you sit down and sort of say like, this is how it works, like we do this kind of roaming, like our net IDs are managed this way or that way or whatever. And yes, we poached a net ID and we're trying to fix that. Like, they once they see you're a real person, it's great. And so, yeah, we got to be there. We got to like tell the story and let people know what we're up to.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, at least I did my part. I did a pitch on the MWC, and then the first like 20% was preaching Helium. So
love it.
Yeah. And Max did his thing at ETH Denver, and then Joey, clearly you're going to be at the Deepin event in your hometown next Friday.
Yeah,
I know you've given a baby on it, so I'm trying to peg you in a corner.
Well, so I'm not going to LoRaWAN Live.
Right.
I bailed on it just because I'm trying to stay heads down on some of this migration stuff. So that means I will probably be there. Yeah.
Right on. Yeah. So that's the whole. And we've been laughing about this in the couple of Discord channels. Is it should be this HIPIN, helium-inspired physical infrastructure networks. But Deepin is the name I'm going with. That's what we're rolling with. That seems, and actually, there's a neat little backstory on that. Is there was a bunch of different names for it. There was TIPIN, there was POPW, there was Blockchain and Meat Space. There's a bunch of them, and all of them were kind of made by people who had something to gain in the space from being marketers. And I thought it was really cool. I was talking to a couple of VCs, and they're like, "Hey, we're just going to go with the Masari one, which is Deepin, because that just removes it from being like anybody's name, and Masari is going to push it super hard, and we'll just get behind that. So it's kind of cool to see the community seeing like, all right, well, this is a sensible way to do it. Let's go with Deepin, even though I love and we all love our own thing.
I'll still keep harassing everyone on Twitter. I actually really like blockchain and meat space. It's
Yeah,
just like a
that's
really
my favorite.
like
That's
human way to say it.
yeah.
It's hard to break down acronyms, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So that'll be super cool. Let's see, Bobby. I see all your questions. I'm not. Well, I am ignoring a bunch of them because I think some of them are a bit silly, and you can just look them up on your own. But I'll hit this one just to. I think it's important. Is there any chance anything could go haywire with the Solana transition? Yeah, 100%. There is a chance. It's a giant complex move of a giant complex thing done by fallible people. So I would expect that there's going to be at least one large disaster, and the only thing that will. The only thing that is kind of a question is like, are you going to see it, or are the devs going to catch it before it goes totally live and they're going to fix it? But there's no, as far as I know, there's nothing in recorded history where someone did like an enormous giant complex move and it went super perfectly. Like that just doesn't happen. So yeah, expect a disaster and then it'll get fixed and then we'll be on to the next thing. And all these questions about which blockchain or what happened or blah, blah, like that'll be in the rear view, just like when we made the transition to HIP 1517. That was super contentious and now no one even questions it.
Or like when validators came, I think that's what you're talking about. I forget the hips, but like,
Yeah.
the validator activation was a big deal, right? And everyone was all hands on deck in person, making sure that we had everything we needed to make sure if something came up, it got solved.
Yeah.
But, we're trying to do as much as we can ahead of time. Audits by third-party security firms, like all sorts of stuff is going on. And, they'll publish their results, and they've been in contact with the team to make sure that that is as smooth as it can be.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really nice to remember, like, at least my story with Helium's in the beginning of the DIY program until now, like all the things that happened during this process, right? Like the ETL was like, I don't know, 300 gigabytes back then. It was actually easy to do things. And then the network just grew exponentially. And then Helium just like always on being on top of trying to figure out what to do next. Because, man, it's a complex project with like 1 million devices. And it was the biggest P2P network in the world, right? Like, so it's gonna break. I'm sure something's gonna break, and then we fix it. That's how technology gets advanced. There's never something that goes 100%.
No, what? Apparently, the moon landing shot was perfect first shot. Yeah, but my guess is behind the scenes there was some fucking massive disaster, and I'll bet you anything Jeremy Cooper knows what it was and how it was fixed, and down to like the microsecond. So yeah, just expect it to be a minor shit show. And I think this is like the coolest thing for me as someone who like does not have the technical ability to understand it or do it, is someone else who's super smart, super talented, expert in this thing. They're going to fix it for me. And the whole system is just going to work. And I don't have to do anything. It's going to be pretty amazing. Joey's got to bail. That's the Joey exit. How are you guys doing? Daniel, you good?
Yeah, man, I'm in Brussels.
Okay.
Need to start looking for a new house in Portugal.
All right.
Yeah, it was snowing like 2 days ago. I don't think I leave the apartment that often, so it doesn't change much.
Let's see. We've got a couple questions. Neil, have you got anything I'm going to put Ed's question on the screen because I don't know the answer to this about rekeying wallets before the migration. Huh.
Rekey wallets.
I don't even know what that means, but it seems like.
Well, I think he means like create new wallets. Should he create new wallets? I don't know.
Huh. I don't know. Does that make sense to you, Daniel?
No.
Okay.
Rekey. I mean, I think Rekey was just make a new wallet and then transition. I mean, I know that the way it's going to be now, like the same seed phrase that you have for a Helium wallet, it's going to generate a different wallet address on the Solana blockchain, but that's like they're automatically going to do that.
Right. Let's see. The comments got away from me there. And then we got, let's see, what's going to happen to, this is actually, I wish Joey was here, because we just have to hit these things over and over. What's going to happen to HNT after the Solana transition? I think we see like a ton of questions like this, where it's like, oh, we need to explain this thing. Like, here's how this thing is going to work. So, and then Bobby's asking, I was hoping you'd have me on to talk about VHNT. Dude, Shoot me a thing on Discord. DM me. I will send you a link. You can come on. Fuck, I'll have you on right now.
Says that all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. HNT stays HNT. Thank you, Dustin. Thanks for doing that. And then I saw a thing on, I thought it was pretty funny. I'd like to go back to it, is the whole Keenan foot tracker thing. Like, I think as funny as it is, for $25 with a nanotag, you can track Keenan's feet. He could probably do like a funny thing and paste this thing to a shoe and just be like, yeah, this is where my foot is right now.
You could do it.
Yeah. So that's just going to happen. Neil, what's going on? What else is going on?
So I was going to say, so I went to Berlin to meet Frank and Mark.
Oh yeah, how was that?
Everyone. It was great. I mean, it was just a meet-up of people that were doing fantastic things in the IoT world. And I mean, they really were. So we had the Katzen Tracker guy was there. There's an Uplink Network were there. Edie and Mark were there. And it was just a great conversation with a load of IT developers that have gone from, in many cases, just being hotspot vendors to, solutions providers now, and the challenges that they're seeing. And it was basically what I thought all along and what Daniel just said. We need more events, we need more support, and we need more publicity to encourage devs to, grow on this network and to be seen worldwide. I mean, one of the big things that I was talking to Frank about and Mark and everything was that there were companies doing things in the LoRa space that I wasn't aware of, that they just went, oh, why don't you use these guys? And where's that disconnect is like, I didn't know they existed. So that's happening all over. And I think if we can be a bit more public and have those kind of meetings and the smaller meetings and things, we can make those connections that people are missing, and it can help a lot of businesses. There's some great little projects out there that just don't have any publicity, or they don't know where they go, they don't know which direction to head in, and if we come together and help them, we can do amazing things. So it was great. It was a great day out.
Oh, it's rad. Super good to hear. I think I got to put in a grant for this San Francisco meetup and see if I can get $500 to cover the first round or whatever. It's like, I just forget to do that. 'Cause I'm like, the most important thing for me is to get people together and then to worry about the money stuff later. Like, that seems like it'll work itself out. But yeah, there's probably...
That was one of the things. I stole like 6 pairs of socks, and then they turned up with a load of socks, a load of badges, and they got handed out to the community members, and the community members have handed it out to all their friends. So like to them, that's amazing. They finally got some merch. They finally got some, patches, and they're finally a bit more of a bigger community, whereas before it's like very fragmented right now. So.
Oh, did you get a 1663 shirt?
I did, yeah.
Right on. Yeah. Those look super cool, but I got so many shirts now, like I have too many. I have to give them away.
Yeah, the socks are lovely. If you ever get the socks, get the socks. They're amazing.
Okay.
One thing that was very surprising to me, so when I did the pitch at the MWC, it was a lot of people there. I asked like who in the audience knew Helium. Only 3 or 4 people raised their hands. So that was like very impressed. Like I was very impressed about that. I thought like people who are there would be more aware. So I guess there's still like a lot of work to be done in terms of awareness. So this kind of events, like Neil is saying, is super important. We're still not there yet, right? There's still a lot of work to be done.
We're not, and to be honest with you, I love that the foundation are giving grants of $500, but we need bigger events, and we need like representation at Mobile World Conference, and that's way more than anything like that will cover. But I think like as we come together and build solutions, we should all be partnering together to put stands in these places. We don't have to rely on the foundation for it. We could do much bigger things.
I think that's key. Is like, hey, just let the foundation give you a little start, but. What I'm seeing, Ed's thing, like put in a grant for Minneapolis meetup, like just put it on the calendar, dude. I think for the stuff where what I found is you can spend a bunch of money on something. I certainly spent a good amount on the London meetup, and it was cool. But I think, Neil, and maybe tell me if I'm wrong, we probably could have done the same thing at like a small bar right down the street. It wouldn't have been as cool, wouldn't have been as nice. We wouldn't have the cool presentations, but like the connection of community members is the critical thing.
That's the key. That is the key.
Yeah. So just like put it on the calendar, put it out there. I'm happy to help you amplify it wherever I can. I'm helping out with this San Francisco Deepen thing. But yeah, I think the more we get all these people together, the better. Let's see. There will be swag.
I have to bounce.
Yep.
Have an amazing weekend, everyone, and hopefully be here next weekend.
Yeah.
Rock on.
Let's.
Cheers, guys.
Catch you soon.
All right. Daniel's out. Cool. Neil, it's just you and me.
Mm.
Okay. Super exciting. What's going on with TrackPack.io and what you guys are doing with the location piece with all these different trackers. So are you guys going to sell nano things? Is that an intent or not? Not going to do that.
No, we work with the same kind of partners that we've worked with right now. You know, why would we ever think about it when CalChip are so good at, you know, shipping things like this for us? They're just they know they've got distribution down. As one of the things we were talking to Nanotags the other day. You know, it's utilizing people in the industry that can do things way better than you, and coming together to make something bigger. You know, and I think that's what we're trying to do. You know, so the forwarding service is live. You can add Nanotags. You can forward it to TrackPack. You can forward it to Cargo. And that's us testing the location engine, basically. So we need more development. We need more time. You know, we need to do things with temperatures and alerts and work on the engine itself for the location prediction. But it's what we've always said, and I've always said to people, is get the beta out, get lovable features in it, get people testing it. Half the battle is marketing, half the battle is technology, right? So you can often find a customer before you've got a full solution, and that can pay for your development, you know. So that's what we're doing here. You know, we're teasing and letting people test and use, but the idea is that really the end customers just going to use our API and their custom systems for the big customers. So, but to get to that point, we need to develop a whole system so people can use it and understand it and then take it to those businesses. So that's what we've done.
Yeah, it's rad to see. I got my founder's tag here.
Yeah.
Right here.
I've got so many tags.
Yeah.
We're all sort of offer with them.
I got a ton of them that are broken.
Yeah.
I'm actually really curious what I can do with all the broken ones that I've got from various events. And like the original helium tabs, I'm not sure if they're still working 2 years later.
They don't.
But I think I broke one open just to see what's in there. And that Gray Hat guy, I know you're weighing all this stuff. That might be like a cool open source project to be like, hey, break open the tag. Here's how you reuse the guts, and then I'll come up with like some 3D printed file, and we can make that an open source piece, because it's just a battery issue, right? Like, it's not that the hardware doesn't work; it's just the battery eventually wears down through reuse.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. That's one thing to talk about, is that Travis is back.
Yeah, that's right. Totally forgot that. Thank you, Neil. Travis's Helium Hacks Happy Hour is back on, what is it, Travis? Wednesdays at 2 Pacific, something like that. Yeah, whatever the time is, you can find it on the Helium Discord for sure. Really cool to see that back.
And they're beginning to get a community project going, right? I think that's the fun thing there. Like, this is, if you want to step up and do something, you know, fuck around and find out, this is the kind of place to do it, and this is the kind of community we can all get together and build something bigger than what one person could on their own, you know? Really give back and make this thing grow. So if you've wanted to do something, join that, and we can start making something and get some ideas together of what we're going to do together.
Love it. Let's see, this dude, I haven't seen this guy's name before. Vinicius Goes, how do you think Helium, I mean, this is like to the point, how do you think Helium can encourage people outside the community to join the network? Like, dude, build something and show it to your neighbor. That's it. It's just like, hey, look at this cool thing I just did, whether it's a mapper, whether it's like some sensor that you buy online from any of the major companies or any of the companies out there. All you gotta do is talk to people. Like, hey, this is what I'm using. And especially if it's something useful for you and you can tell someone else how it's useful, it's just going to be community, kind of word of mouth, person at a time. That's how these things are the strongest, the biggest, the fastest.
It really is. It's just about getting sensors into people's hands, and then when, you know, right place, right time, meeting someone that needs a air quality sensor or a flow meter, or and then you realise that when you talk to these people that you can change whole industries. But you need to work with those people to get there. You can't just walk in and say, right, I'm going to change agriculture altogether. You need people that are actually in that industry to do it. So. And those people might not know about helium. They might not be bothered about it. You know, why would a farmer be looking at it at this stage, you know? But if you were a friend of a farmer and you walked in and said, hey, you know, this is my new tracker, this is my new soil quality, then he might start looking into it, and you can transform an industry through there, you know?
You
just got to go out, get out there.
Yeah, totally have to get out there and ask questions. I think that's the thing that Nick Huff was banging on me about, was like, hey, dude, don't think you're going to walk in there with your thing and just apply it to their problem and it's going to work. Like, go in there and be like, hey, what problems do you have? Expect them to say, like, I don't have any problems, and just keep talking to them until they're like, oh, well, I actually have this thing. And you're like, well, I think I can fix that. Let's see.
Yeah.
Richard Soares. I do know about helium sensors with a Home Assistant integration. I wrote a giant blog post on it. If you go to gristleking.com and look in the blog section, which is should be up at the top left. If you're on a desktop, it's like 4 blog posts back. I did this whole thing that Dirk helped me with. We did like a gate sensor that turned on a light through Home Assistant.
It's so cool. There's so much to do with Home Assistant. It takes a bit of knowing how to do it, but once you get into it and how deep into it, it's just a fantastic little system.
Oh yeah, I'm psyched. There's I think I don't know if it was you that had put it out there, but there's like something you put in your wall plate that's a screen. So if you got a blank wall plate next to a white light switch, you can put this screen in, and then you can. It's a touch screen. It's some
Nice.
paper kind of thing, and then you can control
Yeah.
Home Assistant from that little tiny little whatever screen.
Yeah, it's just so cool to do it. When you get really deep into it, you start realizing what you can kind of build in the house with it. It's like I got really deep into looking to millimeter wave sensors over PIR sensors. So they detect using radio waves where an object is in the room. So they're way more accurate than PIR. You can like say how deep in a room you want to measure and things like that. So you could do all of that through home automation, like automate all your lights when you leave the building. You know, the lights turn off, and you could have a tracker that when it comes to the house turns on the lights, turns on the. You could really make it work with heat.
Yeah. The big thing is just like having the imagination to see like
Yeah,
what's the problem you need to solve.
exactly.
And it looks like Hack is also saying that he did a video on home automation and helium back at Turkey Day, which is Thanksgiving for those of us who
Yeah.
don't get that right away. Let's see, Fizzy. I'm just going to go through the comments. We got 1,000 paperweights. What paperweights? I'm guessing those are trackers or some kind of maybe they're radio or antennas. But yeah.
He might be talking about nanotags.
Oh, nanotags.
I think he is anyway.
Nanotags. Those aren't paperweights. Those aren't heavy enough. Let's see. Chad, does anyone know how to get the ABWay GPS tracker working? I'm stuck with the app. I don't know. I'm sure Travis does. Neil?
Yeah, I had one. It took me a while to get working, and then when I got it working, it's just one of those ones that only works really well on their own app.
Okay.
Very very walled garden system. So.
And I've noticed that with a couple of these things is like they've got their own app. I'm like, I don't want your app. I just there's got to be like a T-shirt that's like, I don't want your app. I want your Devi UI. I want your keys.
That's a good T-shirt. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see.
No, but they are. There are quite a few like that. They expect to sell you the full system, and then when you want to do it for something slightly different, or you want something, you just can't get the change because you can't use the device out of their system. Like, if you suddenly wanted to do temperature as well as location, you maybe not be able to do it with their walled garden system. But it doesn't mean you need to go and design a whole new device. You should just be able to use it on another system. But it's not that way.
And so far, when I've asked all the manufacturers, I'm like, hey, can I just get the keys? They've all been like, oh, yeah, sure. Sometimes it's a pain in the ass, but
yeah,
I think we're still in that place. So, Neil, you're going to have a message incoming from Bobby about your ABWay, so stand by. And then I guess Fizzy was talking about the tabs. Man, if you've got 1,000 tabs, Fizzy, let's figure out how to use them. Or are those like permanently cooked?
The no velocity keys for them, basically, I think.
Okay.
Or they don't know how to get the keys for them, so we can't use them.
Huh.
We spent ages trying to work it out, and there was we could never get them working.
So here's what I would do, Fizzy, is get with Grey Hat, send him a couple of those things. That dude both loves to and is super competent at that kind of thing. And that might be a thing where we do a community project on that, like how do we reuse these tags? I am happy to contribute kind of 3D printing design, at least money to that, to my guy. And let's figure out something cool to do with those and make like an open source project around that. I'd be psyched on that.
Those keys can come out, so they could be used.
Okay. Yeah. We can Grey Hat, between Grey Hat, Travis, and you, Neil, I'm sure we can figure it out. And it shouldn't be much on you because you got your own thing to run, but dude, Jason Grey Hat is like, that guy's a wizard. He's like, oh, I'm just gonna like X-ray this thing real quick, and like 7 nanometers to the left. I'm like, dude, how the fuck do you know this stuff? Let's see, Iker Herman. I think I've talked to you on Twitter, dude. I think you're the same guy. Do you guys know if you can onboard a blocked miner bought on eBay from an asshole? I don't buy from assholes. I don't know if you can. I don't
Well,
think
it can only be blocked if it's onboarded for a start, but
huh? Yeah, I don't know. There's some fiddly stuff,
maybe
but
you need to unblock it basically, put in a removal request, and that can take a while at the moment. So it's best to stay away from deny listed hotspots. And
yeah,
eBay is great, lot of pay a buyer protection. So just get your money back.
yeah, yeah. That's what Bobby's saying too. I see
Yeah.
Jason saying like this project sounds fun. So, Fizzy, do not miss that opportunity. Take those 1,000 tabs. Well, I guess just send a couple of them to Jason, and then you've got a distro thing, so you can send the rest of them out once we figure it out, or you can send them to me and I'll send them out. But that'd be a super fun project if we got, damn Neil, if we got 1,000 tabs and we just sent them all over at least the U.S. if not the world.
The US 915.
Oh, the 915. Okay, so we do U.S., Mexico, Canada. That might be a cool thing. Like, can we do like tracking from the canal up to the northern border of Canada? That'd be pretty rad. Because I know there's some.
It'd be cool if we did like a big game with them all.
Oh
If
yeah.
we actually got that game conversation down and like people wanted to chip in and develop something, we could
Oh, dude, that'd be
probably
super
send them
cool.
out for free.
I wonder how we set it up so it's like, hey, send like so we'd have to support dev costs. We'll just brainstorm this super quick here. Like send $20 to this address, whatever it is, put it all in a pot, and then have someone pay someone to build the game and figure out like how do we make that work. And the $20 thing is like that's your ticket to the game, and that gets you sent a tag and whatever this maybe it gets you sent like a tag and a 3D print file, and then you can take that locally and have that printed up by anyone. You can find people on the Prusa site for sure if you can't find them on Craigslist who will print up something for you. Dude, we could make like a rad scavenger hunt out of that. We're like, hey, first you got to get the thing, then you got to plug it in, then you got to print the file, and then just put like a pot of money. Like, so if someone put in $20, we'd reserve $5 for the prize, right? So it'd be like a scavenger hunt. So at the end of it, you get 1,000 people, you get a $5,000 prize. That'd be pretty cool.
There's definitely something to that. I love that. I love that game idea because it just means everyone can take part in the network and use DC while doing it. It's just
Yeah.
like crypto kitties to Ethereum. Like crypto
Yep.
kitties just nearly shut that thing down. Like I wouldn't say we'd shut it down, but we'd really start using DC if we made something fun for people to do on Helium.
Yep.
What can we enhance that makes people want to like play a IRL game?
Yeah.
Can we do something better than what's out there at the moment, or can we work with a team that's doing that at the moment?
And I think, like, I'm not going to name names, but I'm pretty sure there's a couple folks who are watching this who are working on a scavenger hunt type of thing. So there is definitely going to be support for that stuff.
Nice.
Yeah. And then I think the other thing is you got to be willing to put in some work and think about how the game works. Like, how do you are you going to code? Are you going to market? Are you going to describe? Or, like, what are you going to do? But sitting back waiting for someone else to do it it blocks you out of an opportunity. So yeah, this like whole tab geocache tracker, that'd be super cool. Yeah. What did
When those tabs are not active for a while as well, they last a hell of a long time. So you could like leave them about the place, let
Oh
people
yeah,
find them.
huh? That would be neat. And you'd have, I mean, you'd have to put them high. You couldn't bury them, but that might be part of the thing. Is like, maybe not put something up way up on Yosemite. But I got some climber buddies. That'd be cool to be like, hey, one of you guys go put this somewhere, and then someone else climb up and find it. That'd be rad. Let's see. Haywood, you blow me? Paging. Haywood, you blow me? This guy. You had asked us some question earlier. I forget what it was, but I thought it was a reasonably good one, and I wanted to say that stupid name. All right. I think we're coming in and close on the end of it. The scavenger hunt idea is super cool. I think people are psyched on that. Yeah. Send tags downstream in bottles. Yeah, that'd be rad downstream. Yep. So like you start at the top of the Mississippi and you're like, hey, who can find this tag? And like throw it, 20 tags in bottles up in Montana somewhere. Get busted for littering, and then
Yeah, I was going to say, well, they'll just end up in the great garbage patch of
off the North
the
Pacific.
Atlantic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Let's see, Bobby. I'm not seeing your messages. They're not coming through. I'm looking at Discord right now. You might have the wrong Gristle King, because I'm on there and I've seen other people get on there. So let's see. Cool. I think that's most of it, man.
Yeah. everyone's just head down building right now, aren't they? There's not a hell of a lot going on because people are just focusing on their lanes. Like, let's get through this one thing and then we can grow something.
Yep. This one I'll hit. So the news on 5G outside of the USA. What I'm hearing, and this is all just like gossip bullshit. So, take this. Everyone's always asking like the percentage of this is true. I would put like 10% true. Is that we're going to see a lot of these 5G units get switched over to Wi-Fi, and we're going to go to Wi-Fi. That's
my feeling.
Yeah.
It makes so much more sense.
Yep. So I think that's going to happen. I've been talking a bunch to Jeremy Rollinson, and I think he's got legit concerns about like, hey, this 5G thing as it's currently laid out is not going to work. So maybe I'm totally wrong on that. I know that Frank had a really good presentation on 5G when I went to the Miami thing. And I came away from that way more confident than I was going in. But I still think that Wi-Fi is like, you want 10,000 or you want...
Way bigger deal.
Yeah. Cool. There's Bobby. Now I see in Discord.
It's just, it's worldwide as well. We can all take part in it. We can all make it a big thing very quickly, but we can't with 5G. We just relying on people that have enough cash in the crypto winter to buy a expensive 5G radio.
Yeah.
Whereas if we could do Wi-Fi and it's cheap, we could all take part and just make it massive.
Yep. Love it. Oh man, you guys are psyched on this thing. All right, so Fizzy, we got that connection done. Fizzy's sending some tags right now. Yeah. Oh dude, this is gonna be fun. This is gonna be super fun. Let's see, Keenan. So you're on the HF side. Wi-Fi can work alongside CBRS. I think that might be the other play too. Is like they can do both.
It can be both, yeah. And then when it's 6G, it'll be 6G, and then when it's 7, it'll be, I think they're basically the same sort of thing, but it's just the tech is very limited in CBRS, whereas Wi-Fi is just way more available. So it just everyone feels more enthusiastic about it, I think. But yeah, it makes sense to have both.
Yeah. No, it's going to be super cool just to see that whole thing go. And I think that's like a great example of like, hey, they tried this one thing. It's not working as well as we all wanted it to work. Yeah, make a change. Like I hate that stupid word pivot, but that's like the correct thing, I think.
Pivot. Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong on
Yeah,
that.
but you don't know when you first set out to do something if it's going to go well, and if you don't pivot, then it's just going to be a dead project, and we don't want that. So if it needs to happen, it needs to happen. But I think Wi-Fi would be a ton more easier target. So
yeah,
they obviously Nova Foundation 1663, they all think there's something in 5G, and we have to trust their gut. They're the same people that launched IoT, and that's growing and growing and growing.
Yeah, they're not dummies.
Maybe they just see something we don't right now, and they're having conversations that we're not with these providers that are saying we need this.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting, Neil. I'm betting you're right on that. Because whenever I've talked to them and been like, "Oh, this is bullshit. I don't understand it," they explain it to me. It makes sense at the time, and of course, it goes out of my head. 6 minutes later. But yeah. Every time I've talked to Frank or Amir or any of those guys, it's like, "Oh yeah, you guys totally know what you're talking about." And I'm just way behind. So cool. Well, dude, I think that wraps it. Is there anything else? Anything that you need help with that folks can help you with? Are you doing any testing? Are you doing any sales? Like the founders tab still for sale? What's going on?
They can. I've just been working on nanotags, to be honest with you. So you're going to see a lot of press about nanotags from us over the next couple of weeks. So. Okay.
Cool. Super cool. Yeah, I can certainly help with that. Just whenever you put something out, I'll repush it on Twitter or hit me on Discord and be like, "Hey man, help here." Yeah, rad, dude. Good show. Super good show. I will see you guys next week. Neil, thanks for coming on. And see everybody on Discord or next week. Rock and roll.